But yeah, if you need to change, that's fine. I will tell you, next Friday, we are busy next Friday, but anything else, let's just not even worry about it right now. Yeah. Just not even worry about it right now. Hey, it's just good seeing you. I know, I do too, but you know what? Hey, we'll get together at some point. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Greenville Unitarian Universalist Fellowship. My name is Marion Greer, and I serve the congregation on a few committees, auction and audit. Whether you've been with us on Sundays for a long time or are visiting for the first time, we welcome you today to our service. This congregation is a theologically diverse religious community with participation open to all who agree to live into our principles, mission, and values. We are a welcoming congregation to people of all sexual orientations and gender identities, races, ethnicities, and abilities, and we unconditionally welcome you as your full, authentic self to our community of caring and commitment to grow as spiritual and moral beings. Our congregational mission is to strengthen our connections to one another and our planet by enlivening minds and spirits, building community through liberating love, and advocating fiercely for justice. It is our custom in this congregation to acknowledge visitors and newcomers. If this is your first time here, would you mind raising your hand so that we can acknowledge you? Thank you. Thank you and welcome. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Please, all are invited to join us for coffee after service. New and newer folks are invited to grab one of these green mugs located just inside the door of the fellowship hall so we can easily spot you and speak to you during our coffee hour. You are also welcome to fill out one of the green cards that can be found in the back of the pews so that we can keep in touch with you. Simply drop the card in the offering basket or in the box at the welcome table in the foyer. Please know that whatever your religious history, whatever your personal theology, all people of goodwill are welcome here. Your presence makes us better. Your presence makes us whole. Our service will now begin.
For our chalice lighting today, I would like to share with you a reading by Reverend Scott Taylor entitled, Always a Voice Arises. As we light this flame, may we hear what it has to say. Come back to your center, it calls. Return to the quiet, it whispers. The quiet we long for and that longs for us. From the stillness, always a voice arises if we let it. So come, friends, let us listen once again. Let us find that flame inside that guides us back home.
Good morning, Goof. I'm the Reverend Chris Hockman, so happy to be here with you on this sunny fall morning as I start throwing things around from the pulpit. All right, our call to worship this morning is from the late Reverend Nancy Schaefer, and it's a poem called That Which Holds All. You may have heard it before, I think I've used it before, but it is so good, I wanted to use it again. Because she wanted everyone to feel included in her prayer. She said right at the beginning, several names for the holy. Spirit, she said, Holy One, Mystery, God. But then thinking these weren't enough ways of addressing that which cannot fully be addressed, she added particularities, saying, Spirit of life, Spirit of love, ancient Holy One, mystery we will not ever fully know, gracious God, and also Spirit of this earth, God of Sarah, Gaia, thou. And then tongue loosened, she fell into naming superlatives as well. Most creative one, greatest source, closest, hope. Even though superlatives for the sacred seemed to her probably redundant, but then she couldn't stop. One who made the stars, she said, although she knew technically a number of those present didn't believe the stars had been made by anyone or thing, but just luckily happened. One who is an entire ocean of compassion, she said, and no one even laughed. That which has been present since before the beginning, she said, and the room was silent. Then, although she hadn't imagined it this way, others began to offer names. Peace, said one. One my mother knew, said another. Ancestor, said a third. Wind, rain, breath, said one near the back. Refuge, that which holds all. A child said, water. Someone said, Guan Yin, then womb. Witness, great kindness, great eagle, eternal stillness. And then there wasn't any need to say the things she thought would be important to say. And as everyone sat hushed until someone said, Amen. Please rise in body or spirit. We'll sing When Our Heart is in a Holy Place, 10:08 in the teal hymnal, but that's all going to be on the screen.
Good morning. I'm David Funderburk. I'm the Director of Religious Education here at GOOF. And after I read our story today, I welcome any kindergartners through 5th graders to come with me to go to our religious education classes. K through 3rd grade folks will be upstairs at the class at the end of the hall, and 4th or 5th graders will be downstairs. So if you've got a little one, you can pick them up at that classroom at the end of the hall at 12:15, and if you have a 4th or 5th grader going downstairs, we'll send them up to coffee hour after the service. And if you're a middle or high schooler, classes are already started downstairs, so if you want to go join them, you're welcome to join them. So I want to welcome any children or youth or anyone of any age who would like to come up and listen to our story up close to come sit at the base of the steps or in the front pews. And if you ever want to come up here but you feel too shy to come up here, don't worry, I won't put you on camera or embarrass you or anything. So our theme for this month is deep listening. And I wonder, have you ever been having a hard time or really frustrated and you didn't want anyone to fix your problem or give you advice? You just needed someone to listen to you. That's what our book today is about. It's called The Rabbit Listened by Corey Dorfeld. One day, Taylor decided to build something new, something special, something amazing. Taylor was so proud. But then, out of nowhere, things came crashing down. The chicken was the first to notice. Cluck, cluck, what a shame. I'm so sorry this happened. Let's talk about it. Cluck, cluck. But Taylor didn't feel like talking. So the chicken left. Next came the bear. Roar, roar, how horrible. I bet you feel so angry. Let's shout about it. Roar, roar, roar. But Taylor didn't feel like shouting. So the bear left. The elephant knew just what to do. Trumpada, I can fix this. We just need to remember exactly the way things were. But Taylor didn't feel like remembering. So the elephant also left. One by one they came. The hyena, hee, let's laugh about it. The ostrich, oh, let's hide and pretend nothing happened. The kangaroo, tisk, tisk, what a mess, let's throw it all away. And the snake, shh, let's go knock down someone else's. But Taylor didn't feel like doing anything with anybody. So eventually they all left until Taylor was alone. In the quiet, Taylor didn't even notice the rabbit, but it moved closer and closer until Taylor could feel its warm body. Together they sat in silence until Taylor said, "Please stay with me." The rabbit listened. The rabbit listened as Taylor talked. The rabbit listened as Taylor shouted. The rabbit listened as Taylor remembered and laughed. The rabbit listened to Taylor's plans to hide, to throw everything away, to ruin things for someone else. Through it all, The rabbit never left. And when the time was right, the rabbit listened to Taylor's plan to build again. "I can't wait," Taylor said. Now, I wonder if you have someone in your life who is a good rabbit for you, who's really good at listening. I wonder if you've ever been a rabbit for someone else. Now, sometimes when some people believe in a higher power like a god or a great spirit or a goddess or what were all those other things you listed? Too many. That powerful higher power might be that person's rabbit who listens to them. And we call that prayer. And sometimes you can be a rabbit for yourself, to stop and listen to how you're doing and really notice how you're feeling. And when you're a rabbit for yourself, some people call that meditation or sometimes prayer. So I hope you find an opportunity today and the next week to really listen deeply to people you know and to yourself. So thank you for listening this morning. And if you're coming to a class with me, please go to the middle aisle and meet me in the back, and we will lead you to your class.
I'm doing the offering call today because it is a very, very special offering. The scale of destruction in the wake of Hurricane Helene has been utterly devastating to many communities in the southeastern United States, which was almost immediately followed up by Hurricane Milton. Because I know that we are a generous community willing to help, today our offering will be a special collection for the Unitarian Universalist Disaster Relief Fund. Now, some UU congregations have been seriously impacted, and others are still trying to assess the damage. You can help support UUs and their communities as they recover from this storm by giving generously today. Our collection will support fellow UUs impacted by Helene and Milton. Disaster Relief Fund donations become grants to UUs, their congregations, and their communities. All funds donated during this immediate crisis response will be extended directly to impacted communities. Now, I had some personal experience with the disaster fund back in my last congregation in Texas in the wake of Hurricane Harvey. Now, the church building had just received a small amount of damage. It was less than our deductible for our insurance. It was a small amount of wind damage. A vent was blown off the roof and had to be replaced because the roof had started leaking. The application was a 5-minute simple online form, and the funds were approved and the check was received about as quickly as you could ever imagine. There is little bureaucracy and red tape in this program. The UUA does not want to hang on to these funds. They want to give them away almost immediately. So giving to this fund is the most direct and efficient way you can help UUs, their congregations, and their communities with whom we are covenanted in interdependent relationship and bonded in love, care, and concern. Please give generously and let our fellow UUs and UU communities know that we are here for them. Now, for any pledge contributions you are making today, please mark them as pledge funds on the memo line of your check or on your cash envelope. All other donations will be contributed 100% to the Disaster Relief Fund. And if you would prefer to give online, please use the link on the screen. The offering will now be given and most gratefully received.
It is our custom in this congregation to share the joys and the sorrows that shape our lives, honoring each one with the lighting of a candle. We recognize that life is not always easy and that we all have moments of celebration and struggle. By sharing these experiences with one another, we can support and uplift each other as we navigate the significant events of our lives. This one is from Meredith Harper. Please hold Jean Conroy and Judy Patwara in your hearts. Their daughter Kathy was diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma and has started chemotherapy. Judy is with her now, and Jean's mother passed away, and he was going to New York for her memorial service this weekend. This is from Bruce Cable. He has had a hip replacement surgery on Thursday, October 10th. Any positive thoughts, best wishes, thoughts, and prayers will be appreciated for his continued recovery. This is from the UU Vote team. Kudos to Pat Cheney for his untiring work for UU The Vote postcard writing. Thank you. Pat and all who wrote or helped in any way, thanks to all of you. This one was submitted anonymously. Thoughts and prayers for those in North Carolina and Florida who have lost everything excepting their lives. and gratitude for friends who were spared. And last, a candle of love and appreciation for my partner, Joni Lecomte. Thank you for the help and support, kindness and love. And that is from Todd Couillard. Sweet. Finally, we'll light a candle representing all the joys and sorrows present in our hearts that remain unspoken. We will now observe a brief moment of silence before the meditation words begin. The meditation words today are by Annie Dillard from Teaching a Stone to Talk. At a certain point, you say to the woods, to the sea, to the mountains, the world, now I am ready. Now I will stop and be wholly attentive. You empty yourself and wait, listening. After a time, you hear it. There is nothing there. There is nothing but those things only, those created objects, discrete, growing or holding or swaying, being rained on or raining, held, flooding or ebbing, standing or spread. You feel the world's word as a tension, a hum, a single chorus note, everywhere the same. This is it. The hum is the silence. The silence is all there is. It is the Alpha and the Omega. It is God's brooding over the face of the waters. It is the blended note of 10,000 things, the whine of wings. You take a step in the right direction to pray to this silence, and even to address prayer to world. Distinctions blur. Quit your tense, pray without ceasing.
So the ideas I share today are based on a book written by a UU minister named Eric Walker Wickstrom. The book is called Simply Pray: Modern Spiritual Practice to Deepen Your Life. As David mentioned earlier, when considering our monthly theme of deep listening, I thought, what is prayer if not deep listening? Listening to one's deepest self, that still small voice within, or listening to what is highest and most important, whether you frame that as God, the universe, the greater whole, the collective unconscious, nature. What is it that this greater thing, this greater awareness has to tell you? Now, judging by the past couple of weeks and the anxiety around the upcoming election, I think many of us might be willing to consider prayer, perhaps for the first time ever. A little more than 2 weeks ago, Helene upturned our lives, leaving most of us in pretty good shape overall, despite the inconvenience of power loss and internet loss and the inability to get around town for a few days and the fact that no one seems to have eggs. But for others, even here at Goof, it's been worse. Trees on roofs, physical rescues from North Carolina. It's important to remember that not everyone here in our community or in our community at large has had the luxury of a quick storm recovery. And, it's important to be sensitive to that. Yet overall, I'm really proud of how Goof friends and networks have cared for each other and for our property over the past couple of weeks, whether it's cleaning up wet carpet in the thrift store, checking our internet and power, streaming our services by cell phone last week, having charging parties, the donation drive, thanks to Letitia, and the offering of homes to support displaced people during this very unsettling time. Unsettled seems to be the word of this moment. From hurricane stressors piled on top of regular stressors of daily life, to the added worry and concern for friends and family in places like Western North Carolina and Florida, to worries about the election, our central nervous systems have had quite a workout in the past few weeks. I personally have felt very ungrounded, easily distracted, almost anticipating the next bad news to arrive, watching too much disaster media, having a feeling of hypervigilance, even though I know there's nothing really out there to get me that I know of. And there's what I call the G and G, this deadly combination. It's not deadly, that was an overstatement. The G and G combination, it's a tricky combination. The gratitude on one hand and the guilt. The gratitude that most destruction from Helene experienced here has already been fixed or will be fixed soon. And the guilt that so many others in other places have lost so much. Loved ones, whole homes, whole livelihoods. And that overwhelming sense of wanting to help and helping in many cases, but at the same time feeling very helpless, that doing all we can possibly do is not going to be nearly enough. Now, I'm sharing this in case you're feeling out of sorts, because you are not alone. We've been through a lot lately. And if you're anxious or sad or irritable, take some time to do those important things that ground you. Rest, take care of yourself, and be gentle with yourself and with others. Just like those COVID times we would love to forget, it's important to remember that we're really not quite our best selves at the moment, and that is okay. And if you're feeling your best self for some reason, you go. That's great. That's okay too. But ultimately, we're all in this together, and we will get through it together. So if you feel like you're in need of some grounding, today's topic happens to be the grounding spiritual practice of prayer, which is one of many spiritual practices you use or any other person may choose to take on. So Eric Wickstrom's book, provides a great case for people of any religion or no religion to begin a prayer practice, even if you're agnostic or atheist. Because you may not know, but prayer isn't dependent on someone having to hear it. At least no one other than the person who is praying. Contrary to what many of us have been taught, having a God or godlike figure to pray to is not required to reap the benefits. Now, my own experience with prayer growing up was short and pretty stunted. Having quit Sunday school by the 4th grade, my knowledge of prayer never developed beyond a child's understanding of it. I remember thinking that praying meant asking God for stuff, things to happen, right? Kind of like asking Santa Claus for Christmas presents. And prayer was not practiced or talked about at home, so there wasn't any help with us there. Yet, being a good Sunday school student, at least until 4th grade, it was a really short time, but I was a good Sunday school student there for a while, so I said my silent bedtime prayers, only later to give them up when it occurred to me that a personal God listening to them and responding to them, to me individually, seemed very unrealistic and not consistent with the reality I had come to know as I grew older. So I stopped praying. And I was not only rejecting prayer, at the same time, without knowing it at the time, I was rejecting the Santa Claus God, the anthropomorphized God. But that was the only God I knew about at the time. So my story, I imagine, is pretty typical among Unitarian Universalists. And yet, I still believe as adult UUs, it can be worthwhile to take a new and different look at prayer as a viable spiritual practice, because otherwise you might be missing out on a real gateway for spiritual growth that could really work for you. After all, we are all seekers. As people of faith, we are looking to go deeper. Hopefully, we're looking to go deeper beyond the surface of our lives. We are looking for something beyond our mundane daily activities. I think that's why people come here, That's why I showed up here 20-odd years ago, in a UU congregation. Hopefully we are looking beyond kind of cheap and short-lived pleasures, beyond material things and beyond external achievements, all those things that the dominant culture tells us we need to be happy and fulfilled, although they have been proven by scholarship to not make us happy. Praying and other spiritual practices are about getting in touch with the transcendent. Transcendent, that something greater, however you care to define it. And that something greater does not have to be supernatural. Maybe for you, your transcendence is just listening to that still small voice within. Now, world religions have many different techniques for connecting to both the deeper self and the something greater. And there are so many spiritual practices: meditation, Tai Chi, yoga, endless types of rituals, and prayer is simply just another option on this really vast menu. So when we stop worrying about why we should pray, or to whom we should pray, and just do it, we can develop a practice that works for us, whatever our context, whatever our theology. In his research, Eric Wickstrom, he discovered there are 4 types of prayer practiced by almost every religion. Christianity has really specific names for those 4 types of prayer, but he chose more practical, universal names for them. The 4 types of prayer he talks about are naming prayer, knowing prayer, listening prayer, and loving prayer. Naming, knowing, listening, loving. Now, the first type of prayer, naming, involves invoking that something greater on which your prayer is focused, even if that something greater doesn't have the ability to listen. It's a place to direct your attention and your intention. And why name this something greater? Well, naming something is the first step toward connecting with it and relating to it. If I pray to the generous universe, I'm not expecting the generous universe will literally listen to and respond to my prayers, although some do believe that, and that's cool. But yet I need some place to focus my concentration and intention. And in naming what we are praying to, we are identifying that which is most sacred. Again, sacred, if you don't like that word, that which is most important, That is the highest, the most important. Wickstrom says, to give voice to where we have encountered the holy or where we have felt the divine in our lives. And that's really important work. I think naming prayer encourages us to look at our lives and discover where the sacred, where the little miracles are present. You may call the sacred the unity, the connection, the ultimate reality, the ultimate truth. It really doesn't matter what you call it, just as long as you call it something. But if you find the idea of praying to something greater still too uncomfortable, your naming prayer practice can be a simple naming of gratitudes. Naming all the things you are grateful for is definitely worth it. It's been proven by research. It shows that people who focus on gratitude through prayer or journaling report greater feelings of well-being than those who do not. The second type of prayer is called knowing prayer. It's knowing prayer where we gently acknowledge our faults and our broken places so that we may work to overcome them, heal them, or at least minimize them. Now, this isn't about being perfect or trying to be perfect or, some of the really rough stuff that happens, calling oneself a sinner and, all the guilt and the guilt we ran away from to come here quite often. It's not really like that at all. It's about giving voice to the broken, wounded, and worried places in our souls. 12-step groups call this a fearless moral inventory. Others might call it facing our darkness or our shadow. To live a healthy spiritual life, we have to strive toward being authentic, whole people, and knowing where we are weak and hurting is essential to live authentically and to be whole. Knowing prayer can help us figure out where we are stuck, where we're getting in our own way or hurting others, coming to terms with the qualities in ourselves that we'd rather not acknowledge. The third type of prayer is listening prayer. It can be equated with meditation practices of Eastern religious traditions or contemplative practices of Western traditions. This type of prayer is all about silencing and centering, taking a break from the noise of the world and of our minds. This is prayer without, or maybe even beyond, words. It's a space to realize the sacredness surrounding us and the sacred within us, the wholeness within us, the unity among us, if sacred isn't your favorite. When we calmly observe our existence without the internal commentary of thoughts and the resulting feelings, we open ourselves to glimpses of what we may call the divine or oneness. Listening practices encourage us to live in the most important moment, which is the present. The whole point is to bypass our busy thoughts and have a direct experience of ultimate reality, which is simply what is there when we quiet our minds for a while. The final element of Wickstrom's 4-part prayer package is called loving prayer. This is the prayer that focuses on our connections, our interconnections, our communities, and goes beyond our more self-related stuff. When it comes to praying for others, now it's often easy to miss the point. Even if you don't believe that prayers can send positive or healing energy, there is still plenty of reason to pray for other people. It's about acknowledging our interdependence, and as all the mystics of all the great traditions have realized, we are all one, and that our destinies are bound together. Loving prayer cultivates compassion, a compassion that compels us to act in service to others. And after all, it's just so easy to avoid the suffering of others. It's like, or on the other side of the scale, to be undone by the suffering of others, right? That's a very important balance of boundaries. But Wickstrom says, loving prayer invites us to open our eyes, ears, and hearts to the struggles of others near and far. Loving prayer also includes praying for those people we don't particularly like, or who have hurt us, or with whom we have unfinished business. That's some serious spiritual adulting right there. These are some of the hardest prayers to pray, but that's probably why they need to be prayed. Loving prayer helps us to let go of negative feelings and old baggage that is bad for our bodies, minds, and our spirits. Loving prayer is about giving voice to and releasing pent-up hostility so we can be released from their captivity. And it's okay to offer loving prayers to ourselves as well. So, some bold scientists have done research regarding the ability of prayers to heal or improve the well-being of those who are ill. Now, it's not conclusive, but at least one double-blind study showed that hospital patients who were prayed for by strangers, whether they knew they were being prayed for or not, had lower death rates and fewer complications than those who were not prayed for. That's something to keep in mind next time someone offers to pray for you. So, what does this UU-friendly prayer practice look like? Well, it incorporates all 4 of these different types of prayer. And using these 4 types of prayer, Eric Wickstrom developed a prayer bead practice. And now it's not uncommon in UU camps and classes and circles to make and use UU prayer beads. Now, this practice takes some commitment. It can take 30 minutes to 1 hour to complete the beads. But you can also break the practice up throughout the day, and that makes it more manageable. And I'll put some resources out there for anyone who is curious about the bead practice or would like to make some UU prayer beads. So after examining the types of prayer and what a UU prayer practice may look like, you still may be wondering, what's the point? What's the point of this or any spiritual practice? I don't need these things to become a better person, a moral person, or to check in on myself and my own behavior, or remember to care about others. And it's true, lots of people lead decent, productive lives without any of these things. But ultimately, the decision is up to you. Going deeper in a consistent and structured way does have its rewards. Maybe a little scary, a little uncomfortable, to go this deep. That reminds me actually of one of my favorite memes I've ever seen. It says, "Sometimes I battle my demons. Other times we just snuggle." Right? Because snuggling demons is so much harder, it's so much easier than battling them, right? I know I've been guilty of demon snuggling on occasion, probably still am. It is because confronting the parts of ourselves that we don't like as so much, that we're not proud of, that we know, need some work. That is really hard. Again, some real spiritual adulting. Spiritual practice of any kind is a commitment, and it's not necessarily easy. But another way, when I look for a rationale for doing it, I look to our own Henry David Thoreau, who said this: "Why should we live in such a hurry and waste of life? We are determined to be starved before we are hungry. I wish to live deliberately to front only the essential facts of life. I want to learn what life has to teach, and not, when I come to die, discover that I have not lived. I do not wish to live what is not life. Living is so dear. Nor do I wish to practice resignation unless it is quite necessary. I want to live deep and suck out all the marrow of life." Today, my wish for all of us is to live our lives this way, deliberately, consciously, and wasting not a moment of the precious time we have. And it's spiritual practice, whether it's prayer or any other practice you might choose. That is what can help make that happen, that way of living and being happen. So may it be so, and blessed be. Please rise in body or spirit for our closing hymn, "Come and Go With Me," 1018 in the Teal Hymnal.
Please join me by saying the words in your order of service as we extinguish the chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
Our brief closing words are from Mahatma Gandhi. Prayer is not asking, it is a longing of the soul. It is a daily admissions of one's weakness. It is better in prayer to have a heart without words than words without a heart. Dear ones, go in peace, return in love, and blessed be.